Can't tell if you're recording. Hi everybody, I'm Corey from Path of Friendship, and welcome back to another Mindful Moments. Today I have Bhakti here. Her name is Bhakti. A lot of people call her Bhakti because they don't know what the word Bhakti means, but Bhakti, it's B-H-A-K-T-I. It's a Sanskrit word. It means devotion or love and devotion. There's a Bhakti yoga, which is, it's not a hatha yoga where you're going to putting your body in different positions. It's a yoga of devotion. But the word Bhakti really means being devoted and devotion. And I love that. And I can't say that I came up with that name. My teacher from many years ago, who was very influential in my life in teaching me about mindfulness and Eastern philosophy and Taoism and Zen, knew somebody with a dog named Bhakti, and he always loved that dog Bhakti. So when it came time for me to pick a name for the dog that I have now, Bhakti was definitely the name that I have. And here she is in all her glory here. She's usually pretty camera shy. She doesn't like to always be in front of the camera, which is why Bodhi's always here. But today she's gracing me with her presence, and she's really enjoying the time we're spending. So being mindful with our dogs, what we do is we connect with them on their level of experience. And it's about really just immersing ourselves and being friends with the present moment, as we've spoken about many, many times. But it's a very important aspect of it. It is the aspect of it. And quite often in mindfulness, we use anchor points to kind of focus us on what's happening. So the traditional one is to focus on our breath, the way our breath feels in our body. Not that we would change breathing, not that we would alter our breath and try to make it in different ways. That's not mindfulness. There are other things that do that, but in mindfulness we just use the experience of our breathing to anchor us. And in mindful moments, or being mindful with our dogs, I like to use the experience of touching my dogs and feeling them, feeling their fur beneath my hand, feeling their the different shapes of their muscles and their bone structures and their body. And that, to me, that's the anchor right there. Even feeling their breath, as we've discussed before. And being connected with our dogs, really in a mindful way, is really the basis of having a great friendship with them. We can be friends with our dogs in lots of different ways, but if we were to have a really true, deep, connected friendship, and friendship in the truest sense of the word, we have to be on an equal level with that. And equal level begins with equal experience. Throughout the ages, all the great thinkers have had their different ideas of what friendship means. They've all, from Plato to Aristotle to Emerson to Immanuel Kant to Montaigne, they've all discussed Francis Bacon. They've all discussed different ideas of friendship, and really they all have come back to the same exact thing. That there are essentially three types of friendship that are there. And of the three, one is really the one that's mindful. So the three basic types of friendship. Hey Cecil, I don't know if you can see Cecil, just made a nest for himself in the couch here. Of the three types of friendship, the first one is a friendship of utility. Meaning that we're friends with someone, and my dog is someone, because of what they can do for us. So for example, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. So for example, I'm friends with my electrician. You know, when I moved here, he was reliable, he was reasonable, he was available, and he did good work. And so, you know, we kept coming back to do some more work, and we became friends in the context of his job for me. I became his friends because I was useful to him, because I was a good client. I paid him on time, I was always home, I wasn't a high maintenance. So he was useful to me in what he could supply and serve me, and I was useful to him in what I could supply and serve him. And in that context, we became friends, but that type of friend based on what we can do for each other. Now, if I moved, say, out of state, well, I probably wouldn't be friends with him because I wouldn't be needing him. He wouldn't come to, to those areas. So it's a friendship that is somewhat limited to what can be used. And I see that a lot with some people with their dogs, that they love their dogs and they're friends with their dogs only to the extent of how their dogs can serve them. So, and not everybody, I mean, there are multiple uses, but so when I lived in Vermont, there was a gentleman who had a bunch of dogs that he used to hunt bear. And he loved those dogs, but he loved them as much as, say, someone would love a set of tools, or love their car. In other words, the dog served his purpose, and when they served his purpose well, he really loved him. But just like any other tool, when it got rusty or it no longer served the purpose, it wasn't there anymore. And unfortunately, if you go into some shelters, you'll notice quite a lot of dogs that are there for that reason. That to me is not a friendship, and that's definitely not a mindful friendship or a connected friendship. That's just that's almost like that's a business transaction. That is what it is. And sometimes we treat our dogs that way. Another type of friendship that's spoken about is friendship of pleasure. And friendship of pleasure is when you and your friend will share, your friends in a specific context, and you share a pleasure together. So for example, when I played guitar and I used to play with my friends, we used to go and we used to jam, and we were in a band, and we would get together and we would riff out blues and things like that. We were good friends when we were all together playing that. But aside from that, outside of that experience, we really didn't see much of each other. But when we were together, we enjoyed each other's company because we enjoyed the pleasure that we got from each other by playing the blues or jamming the instruments and things like that. But as time went and everybody kind of split up, we didn't remain friends because, again, it was a limited type of friendship. And with our dogs, I see that happen a lot too, especially dogs that are used specifically for competition or show. Not all. I'm not putting everybody in that category. There are some that do those things in addition to having the good friendship. But there are those who have their dogs specifically for specific things, like I have my dog only for competition, for agility, or for shows. And if you have your dog only for that, and you only are friends with your dogs in that context, again, it's not a connected friendship. It's a hierarchical friendship. And just as all these thinkers have discussed friendship, another common theme that runs through them is friendship is based on equality. We've sort of grossly diluted the word friend these days, especially with, you can click a button on a social media and say, he's my friend. I have friends that I've never met. So, but I'm not speaking that way. So friendship of utility is like a business transaction. Friendship of pleasure is only based on just one aspect and a narrow focus of life. But the highest form of friendship is known as a friendship of virtue, or the friendship of good, where your friend is another self. So Bhakti and I are friends, and Bhakti is like another self, and to her, I am like another self of her. We have that level of connection. There's a Japanese word, kenzoku, which really means, technically the word kenzoku means family, but not family as blood relation. Family as that connected, deep friendship. And that's based on a friendship for its own sake. In other words, I'll love Bhakti and be her friend, whether or not she does things for me, whether or not we share common interests. I just have this admiration, and I'm in awe of her as friends, and it's reciprocated. And that is a friendship that's based on this equality and this connection and this deep level of mutual trust and respect. Not just in limited situations, not just what you get out of it, but it's more of what you give to it. And that's our level of friendship that we have here. And that can only happen when you have that ability to share a same experience. And Bhakti and I can share that experience because I tend to put myself in to her by being mindful. And you can do the same thing. By the way, this whole idea of being mindful and being connected with our dogs, this is not some special skill that only very few of us possess. It's actually something that we all already have. We all have this and we know this. We've just forgotten about it. All you have to do is look at any young child, say 3, 4, 5, and watch them with dogs. They have this. They have that connection. Nobody had to tell them. They didn't have to watch a Facebook video of some guy talking about it to get that. It's innate in us. Dogs and humans have grown together as friends for thousands upon thousands of years. It's part of our DNA. In fact, the closer the friendship we have with our dogs, the more human we become. And the closer dogs have friendship with us, the more dog they become. We support and build and grow each other. But this is not this unique skill. It's something that we've had. We've just covered up and buried because we've learned to analyze and classify, and we're taught for some reason that we have to be superior. We have to always be the boss rather than equal. That's so not true. It's so not true. In fact, the over classifying and evaluating and analysis, it's called, you've heard the expression, analysis paralysis. It happens all the time. Get rid of that. Being mindful means getting rid of that and connecting with them on their level and being friends with them. They are remarkable creatures, right? Amazing things. And each one is unique and special in their own way. And if we really want to be friends with them, we really want to connect with them, don't think of them just as how they can serve us. Don't think of them as just companions for specific activities. Think of them as part of an extension of who we are, another self. And that's really how we become connected. And that's what deepens our relationship and brings it to new heights. Unfortunately, the problem is that most of us don't see that. A lot of us don't see it, which is why the shelters are so filled. And I worked for years with the Pennsylvania SPCA. I ran the branches, and prior to that, I spent most of my career volunteering with shelters and rescue organizations, working with dogs. And I have to tell you, in all those cases, in all those dogs, there wasn't one friend that was ever in an animal shelter. Nobody brings a friend to an animal shelter. They bring a tool that no longer serves its usefulness. They bring a friend that once they enjoyed something with, but they don't do it anymore. But if they saw them at the same level, they wouldn't bring them in, with some exceptions. And I know our culture is not set up for that. And unfortunately, our culture doesn't value dogs as much, so a lot of times people have to bring them in because they can't live in a certain area because the landlord or the people won't let them do it. Hopefully that will begin to change. I know in Australia it recently changed. And I hope we take suit too, because they are just as valuable as us. But that's another topic. But being mindful with our dogs is about being true friends with them, on their level, and being equal with them. And so, love your dog for who they are. And I know you do, because you wouldn't be watching me if you didn't. So, anyway, that's my mindful moment for today. I went off on a little bit of a rant, but hey, I've been quarantined for a while, so I think you can get that. Anyway, we'll see you next time on the next mindful moment. Give your dog a big kiss, and if they like it, a hug too. Okay, bye.